People who have the guts to ask their crush out, what happened afterwards? I realized I developed crushes easily and had pretty bad taste. F. She said yes. Asked her out on a second date, specifically said the word date this time. She said she didn't know we were going out on dates. Oh well. She said yes and we went out to dinner and saw a movie together. Dropping her off, we kissed on her parents' front porch for what seemed like forever. Her dad thought so too because he started flicking the porch lights on and off. Good times. We went out on a date and I learned she was not the one for me after all. But it was a good lesson, and had I not asked her out I'd just agonized over what might have been. Ditto. Asked this guy out, he seemed sweet and smart and was cute. First time I ever asked someone out. He said yes. First date was picking up a video after he got off work and watching it at his place. Sounds good. He's really anal about the timing though, which is weird. Yep, he was on house arrest. Probation after being in the federal pen. Not a violent crime, thank God. But taught me that it would be smart to get to know someone a tad better before agreeing to be alone with them in their home. He said he wasn't looking for a girlfriend but he was interested if it was sex only. I politely declined. My sophomore, her junior year of college. We got introduced through mutual friends and hit it off. We started hanging out at parties we both went to, in the coffee shop at my school, doing homework, all that. We didn't really seek each other out, just kept running into each other because of our mutual friend groups. This went on for a month. We'd hang out and chat and flirt jokingly. I didn't think I had a chance with her being a pretty, popular girl a year older than me, so I figured she was just being nice, returning my jokes and all. It turns out she didn't think she had a chance with me and also thought I was just being nice, friendly with my jokes. Her and her friends would always joke, when will I be with user thermal climber, he's the light of my life. And so I didn't think of it as any less of a fun joke when she did it. One night we both went out to a bar party with a group of friends and ended up going home with different people. We were chatting about it the next day and I was like, frick. This hurts a little, is this feelings? A couple days later she mentioned that the guy wanted to grab lunch with her, and she wasn't sure she was into him the same way. I was walking her home and thought that if I didn't say something I'd regret it, so I gambled that maybe all that joking flirting from her was real, told her I had feelings for her. And then spent the longest 5 seconds of my life waiting to hear "I'm glad you said something, because I like you too." It's been 2.5 years and we're still going strong. I sat next to her in the university cafeteria. It was really awkward. Then one of her friends came by and made it more so. Turns out we were both really shy, but had a mutual interest in geekery like sci-fi. We've been married 15 years now. She punched me in the arm and said, frick yeah. Then we went on the most awkward nerd date because we just wanted to like each other. It was a good nerd date. We are still dating to this day. He screamed no and ran away. This was in the 5th grade. Ask mine out today, have a date on Friday. I have a tip for everyone who finds it difficult to ask out people they're interested in. Ask them out before you get too attached. Then if they say no, it's not devastating. If they say yes, you get this time to get to know them and you can break it off if you decide you're actually not interested. If you have to see them often and you're worried they might treat you differently, just say I just wanted to explore my options with you if they turn you down. Don't let them think you were in love with them or something like that. Good luck. Last time I tried this she said yes, I got super attached and then she basically say lol JK and started dating my best friend. Wait to get attached until you have the second date planned. She said she wants to go out on a date. 1 led to 2, 3, etc. Sunday I'm gonna try and kiss her after our concert. Edit, she cancelled. She said no. But, not a hard no, I'm not interested, just I already have other plans or something similar. The same thing the next time I asked her. Repeat for 18 times. The 19th time she went out with me. By the 4th date or so we were talking in terms of when we get married. That was 46 years ago, married for 43 years now, more in love than ever. I go to a cafe and the barista is a grade A cutie pie. I just broke up out of a soul-sucking relationship 3 months ago that had lasted 7 years and 5 years longer than it should have. We talked often after work, for me, and shared similar tastes in music, if not an appreciation for all music. Appreciation for film, and discussed much of it, even suggested some movies to each other to watch, and shot sarcastic comments back and forth. I mustered the courage to ask her to go pumpkin carving last weekend and she said she would love to. She asked the next day if I'd like to out because she had a surprise day of work off. We had a 4-hour conversation at a cafe downtown and then went on a 2-hour walk. Came back to the car holding hands. In all of my life I've never really done that. She said she wanted to not get into a relationship like that quickly and I agreed. Drove her home and gave each other a hug goodbye. She asked if Kay wanted to come over that next Friday evening and cook dinner and watch some scary movies. We did and it was great. Watching people get chainsawed in half had the desired effect, I believe, because I ended up crawling into her arms and squeezing her bums. Watched the next movie and just ended up essentially hugging the entire time and scratching each other's head. Time to go, and I go to give her a kiss on the cheek goodnight, but she goes for the lips instead. We laugh. 2 nights later and we spend Sunday all together and go thrift store shopping. Too much rain for the planned pumpkin carving. 6 hours later, I walk her to her car and we look into each other's eyes. I go in for the real deal kiss and she does too. That was yesterday. I feel a happiness inside I haven't felt inside in years. We are extremely blunt and to the point with each other. Much of the dialogue between us in the above story is this way. I like her because she makes me want to take care of myself and to be myself. I feel like exercising and studying reading again for the first time in years all of a sudden. It has only been little more than a week, and I am hesitant to out labels to this right now. In fact, I don't know why I'm even sharing this. I can tell she is very special to me, and that's all that matters I suppose. Well, we've had someone ghost me, a bunch of standard rejection, me fricking up terribly with one person in particular and never getting the chance again. And one person admit that they were interested in someone else. She thought I was joking. We're still friends, but it was pretty awkward. He was the head chef where I worked and I was new in town. We always sat in the same booth during our breaks and got to know each other over the course of a month and found out we had a lot in common. One night before I left I wrote my number down to give it to him and to ask him out. We asked each other, do you want to hang out? At the same time and then blushed. Our first date was at a rooftop bar celebrating a co-worker's birthday. He asked me if he could kiss me, that's when I knew he was the one. Now, years later, we have a beautiful baby boy that we love more than each other. He still has my phone number in his wallet. I dated her for 8 years, then married her. 2 years strong marriage last week. If you ask your crush out, the worst that happens is you're embarrassed for a couple days. The reward, however, has the potential to be life-changing. Found out she liked me before she started dating her new boyfriend. Damn. I was an idiot and told him that I wanted to include him in my harem, and he got confused but then realized I just confessed my feelings for him. Cue the "oh shit I liked you too, were so pretty" and me freaking out, because I didn't think I'd get this far. He then stopped me and said we weren't gonna date yet BC he had issues he wanted to sort it. 3 months later, a lot of romantic tension, and we began dating. Now, we're a month away from our first anniversary. I told her I loved her on the first date. She said what? I said it again in case she didn't bloody hear it the first time. A bit later we're still together. So far it's the best decision I've ever made. Turns out she's a cannibal. I no longer have the guts to ask her out anymore. Ooh. You son of a bitch. We met on Tinder and after about a month or so of seriously talking and hanging out we were laying in bed about to fall asleep and I asked him to be my boyfriend. The next morning we talked about it and he said he thought it was in a dream that I asked, but still stood by his answer 100%. That was 8 months ago and we are still happily dating. Not exactly my story, as it is his, but when I was in high school I had this huge crush on this guy in my friend group, gamers, nerds, outcasts, etc., starting from the 9th grade. He was seriously the funniest person I had ever met, and he was so cool because of it. All my female friends would tell me to just ask him out but I couldn't because I was so afraid he would say no and make fun of me for the rest of my high school experience. In my junior year he left to go to a different school but we still kept in touch because his cousin, who also went to the school, became my best friend, to this day. She had managed to give me his number and after mustering up the courage to text him, he was actually engaged in conversations with me, even though I was lanky and gross. Then the texting fell off and we grew distant in our senior year. One day my bestie had a family event at her house and my crush was there. We all had such a good time and I realized that my feelings, which had merely been in hibernation, were back and stronger than ever but he was probably too cool to notice me. Later that day after I went home he messaged me, told me he really liked me, and wanted to date. We dated for almost a year before I had to leave for college and frick up my life entirely. Moral of the story is ask them out, cause maybe they'll say yes. When I asked them out, they just looked at me and said these exact words. You know you're ugly and I'm pretty, right? I gave up on love after that but then one of my other crushes asked me out. She said yes. We got married and had kids. Coming up on 15 years together. We were hanging out at our typical spot when I told her that I'd had a big crush on her for the past year and I'd really like it if she gave me a shot, just one date. She said hey. Nah. I don't see you like that. And then it was. Pretty freaking weird. She tried changing the subject, but I was a million miles away by that point. I made up a reason to take off and she graciously didn't call me out for it being bullshit. I avoided her over the next few weeks. For some reason or another, her rejection humiliated me even though no one else knew about it. If she texted to see if I wanted to hang out, I wouldn't respond or I'd lie and say I was doing something. One night, there was a knock on the door of my apartment. It was her. I knew she'd come around. I opened the door and she came in and sat down on my couch and said this, and I'm paraphrasing, "I just don't like you in a romantic way. I can't help it. I'm just not attracted to you. You just don't spark my fire. I'm sorry. That being said, I miss you. You're my best friend and I spend pretty much all my free time with you. So if you want to go on a date with me, I'll do that for you." And I realized how much my friendship meant to her and how shitty and cowardly I'd been to avoid her after she rejected me. I told her that I was sorry, and if she could forgive me and see her way past this, I'd really like to resume our friendship. It wasn't easy, but I was able to find the maturity to conquer those feelings. We picked up where we left off. Minus a little baggage. A few years ago, a lifelong friend from back home came down to visit me. I introduced him to my friends here and, well, she found her spark. They've been happily married now for 2 years and I can only hope that their son and my daughter can enjoy the same level of friendship as her and I do. 3rd grade. He showed everyone the gift I made him and everyone laughed at me for weeks. I thought it was a nice gift, made it myself. Apparently not. She seemed to be throwing signs of interest because the first couple times we hung out through some mutuals she kept touching my arms and giving me little to no personal space and had us hang in the back from the group as we talked about philosophy and life. So, naturally, I thought we had chemistry and asked her out. We went to an art museum, got some food, talked about a whole variety of topics. There seemed to be some really good chemistry going on as we couldn't stop talking or joking around with each other. Dropped her off, she gave me a hug, a smile, and told me to text her, and then ghosted me after I attempted to start a conversation a few times throughout the week. Then I ran into her a month later and she apologized about ghosting me but that she wanted to still be friends and that she's dealing with this one dude, but that she'd text me. Proceeds to give me a hug and explains how she really does like me as a person and my personality is intelligent and all. Another month passes and still haven't heard anything. Come to think of it, she talked a lot about her ex, made an unnecessary comment about my body type and how it's on the skinny side, not to be rude. And then proceeded to talk about how she wanted a sugar daddy, all while grabbing my arm and giving me no personal space whatsoever, and throwing compliments at me left and right. Very confused. Mixed messages. But I'm moving on cause it actually got me a bit neurotic. Not a good sign, but what else can you do? After 6 months of both of us being too shy to even look at each other, I baked him some cookies, choke chip for those interested, and invited him to my housewarming party. We still never had the guts to say anything to each other, but we woke up next to each other and have hung around together ever since. I guess now that we're married with 2 kids I should ask him out. I hope he says yes. You probably should talk to each other at some point as well. I thought it would be really awkward being a girl asking a guy out, but it wasn't at all. It felt pretty natural actually. We met online through World of Warcraft and I asked if he wanted to go to BlizzCon 2016 with me and we had an amazing time. We now live together and we've been together for 3 years now, going on 4 with plans for marriage. We had recently graduated high school. I confessed my feelings for her. Feelings that I kept to myself since we were little kids. We made out. We made plans for a date the next day. And then she stood me up. And ghosted me for about 2 weeks. Then somebody in my class called to invite me to a party. She was already there and hopped on the line, apologized for bailing on me and said we could talk when I got there. So like the totally rational teenager I was, I hopped in my car and started driving halfway across the United States that night, crashed with my cousins for a couple of months, joined the military and left the country for several years. It's been almost 19 years since then and the feeling of heartbreak still remains. Do you have a crush on someone? And do you have the guts to tell them? Share your story below.